allow us to help your men catch this criminal.
Jamie Foxx leads an elite team of FBI investigators into the Middle East. I'm Richard Roeper. Joining me again this week is Robert Wolanski. Welcome back, Robert.
Thanks. I'm just here till I get it right.
It's going to be a long year. Okay, our first movie is The Kingdom. There's much to recommend here, from the stunning action sequences to Jamie Foxx's best performance since Ray, to Jennifer Garner's best big screen work to date. And yet, I almost decided against recommending this film due to one huge problem. More on that in a bit. First, the good stuff. The Kingdom is a post-9/11 wartime crime thriller focusing on the political, social, and gender-based landmines inherent in even the most positive relationships between Western and Middle Eastern cultures.
He's given us permission to walk through the crime scene.
Really?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Where are you going, Mr.
Listen, you're not in charge. I'm gonna go find somebody that's in charge so I can get some clarification on what's going on.
Okay, there is nothing to clarify.
Yes, the hell
Come
it is.
back,
But you think
please.
I flew over here 18 hours and you gonna tell us we can walk through? I don't know what kind of game you playing. I'm not that guy.
Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Garner, Jason Bateman, and Chris Cooper are all excellent here as members of an FBI team. They're investigating a terrorist explosion that killed or injured hundreds of American civilians in Saudi Arabia. But they're given only a few days, and they're hamstrung by tight restrictions.
Now, here comes the prince. You hold on to his hand and you make sure you don't let go of it till he does, okay? Let's get, we gotta dial down the boobies. We need to cover these situations.
Nice work by Jeremy Piven there. The Kingdom is at its best when the special agents work on breaking down cultural barricades and piecing together the investigation. The last half hour, well, that's mostly about the gun battles.
Grenade! Cover!
The Kingdom is directed by Peter Berg. I liked his film version of Friday Night Lights. I am casting a positive vote for this movie here, but I was really tested by the increasingly annoying camera work. And shot after shot after shot, we get the beyond tiresome, totally cliched jiggle cam stuff. Just set the damn camera in place, let the material and the talent do their thing. See this movie, but take a motion sickness pill first.
Peter Berg is a bit of an ADD director, isn't he?
A lot of bad stuff.
He is. It's anxious is what it feels like. But I feel like that anxiousness is there to simply cover up the fact that this is sort of a standard issue procedural, kind of CSI Riyadh in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got to tell you, one thing that I found very sort of troubling about this, it feels like a pre-September 11th film in a lot of ways. It reminds me of a book that came out a few years ago called Real Bad Arabs by this scholar named Jack Shaheen, who went through thousands of Hollywood movies in which Arabs were portrayed as the bad guys, with sort of no political motivation. It was just the bad guys after bad guys.
You're right about the fact that this does kind of exist. I mean, there's some references to post-9/11 stuff, but it could be set at a different time in a different place. It's more about solving the crime than about that. But I do think the cultural stuff was interesting. I think the language stuff is interesting. I think the performances are very good. It does become a pretty standard kind of thriller where we end up with, you know, the shooting where, of course, the bullets miss the good guys and they hit the anonymous bad guys. I get that. We get that in a lot of movies. I think it's well done here.
I got to disagree, by the way. I don't think the acting is very good here. And to say that this is Jamie Foxx's best movie since Ray, so what, Stealth wasn't that good for you? I mean, it's not like you're
He's done a few
that
films, and then he's done Miami Vice. I mean, I think it's just a nice, straightforward performance. I think Jennifer Garner's very strong.
Oh,
Chris Cooper doesn't have a lot to do, but he does it very well.
I just look at Jason Bateman and Chris Cooper and Jennifer Garner as just sort of this replaceable fodder.
No,
they're kind of pointless.
No, they're better than that,
and Jeremy Piven,
the writing
by the way,
is better than that.
Is annoying. He's just doing Ari Gold again and again and again and again. And what is the point of Frances Fisher's character, who does the most inexplicably unethical thing a newspaper reporter would ever do? Even Woodward and Bernstein, as a Washington Post reporter, wouldn't have done that. It just doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. We could, considering some of the scandals and some of the stories we've had about behind-the-scenes interactions between journalists and sources, I don't think that is inaccurate at all.
All right, the movie's great. It makes a lot of sense. With our next film, I am taking the title very literally. Richard, I would like to trade you anything I have so I don't have to talk about trade. When you hear a movie's based on a 2004 New York Times Magazine article about the sex trafficking business and that it stars Kevin Kline, you would be forgiven for thinking, oh, this is clearly going to be a gritty, multifaceted, and high-minded story about the price and politics of human slavery. Yeah, not so much. Instead, this is just icky sexploitation stuff, our generation's version of 1979's hardcore with George C. Scott. Only this one is set mostly in Mexico, where girls are snatched from streets and airports to become unwilling sex slaves.
Dlaczego wzięła pani nasze paszporty?
Wiza.
Ale my już mamy wizę.
Nie zabój się, дорогая. что мы знаем, где живут твои родители.
That's a woman named Veronica, played by Alicia Baclera Curis, who was lured to Mexico from Poland to become one of many captive girls on their way to auction in New Jersey. Another girl is Adriana, played by Paulina Gaitan, who was taken off the streets of Mexico City. Klein is here as a Texas cop looking for his own grown daughter, and he accompanies Adriana's brother as he looks for his little sis on the web.
Need your help.
That's her. That's my sister. Voy a matar al cabrón que es responsable de esto.
German writer-director Marco Kreuzpainter does not have anything to say about sex trafficking other than, wow, it's horrible. And it all seems so formulaic and cynical. We're never moved, never even interested, never engaged, and too many times we're this close to finding the girls till something else bad happens. I gotta say, yuck, man.
See, you know, I was moved and I was involved, and I am recommending this film, and I know what you're saying. I mean, it's tough to tread that line, and I do think sometimes it occasionally gets into the point where you're like, okay, we're seeing too much of this. We know it's terrible, but I think you have to see that stuff to absorb this, and it does have something to say, and it does show us, you know, in cringe-inducing detail how this, you know, deplorable, horrific trade works, how pervasive it is. Kevin Kline gives a very good performance against type. I think the younger unknown actors are very good. And yeah, it drags on a little bit too much. We get about 3 endings when I think 1 would have sufficed. But I don't think it just delves into it and exploits it without examining it and giving us something to care about. I disagree.
I have the same problem with this that I actually had with Hardcore.
Yeah. Which is another movie I liked. I liked Hardcore. That was a good film.
It keeps you at a distance. These are not people. These are these characters.
I don't think it keeps you at a distance at all. Maybe if anything, it plunges you too much into the world, but it does not keep you at a distance.
All right, well then, later in the show, Morgan Freeman and Greg Kinnear star in Feast of Love. And next, The Rock calls an audible in the game plan.
A little bit of bubble bath.
Peyton? Peyton!
I put sparkles on it.
No way.
For about 4 minutes, about 4 years ago, it appeared as if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson might be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, or at least the next Chuck Norris. With the game plan, he's starting to look like the next contestant on Dancing with the Stars. This is a sticky, sweet, groan-inducing, and just plain lousy family film. The Rock plays Joe Kingman, a superstar quarterback with a me-first attitude and a bachelor life, until a little girl named Peyton appears, overacting at his door, saying she's his daughter.
My name is Peyton. I'm your daughter.
Papa's got a brand new bag.
Hello.
In this wacky interlude, we learn Joe has allergies.
What you put in those cookies?
Milk, flour, eggs, and cinnamon.
Cinnamon? I'm allergic to cinnamon.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And 3, 2, 1, go. Boston Rebels, experience the heat.
It's what I like to call an amnesia movie. 6 months from now, if someone asks me about the game plan, I'll probably be hard-pressed to remember what it is, what it's about, who's in it. That's if I'm lucky.
I can't argue with anything you said other than to say that I highly recommend the game plan. And I have to say, I think it may stem from the fact that I saw it after I saw another movie that we're going to discuss today. And I think this has to do with the fact that I'm a father. And I think that actually affects how you watch stupid Disney movies like this. Because there are moments in this that actually feel kind of genuine. And I think you cannot, for any stretch of the imagination, tell me that The Rock is not a funny actor. He was great when he did Saturday Night Live a few years ago. He was very, very good in this. And yes, it's ridiculous. Yes, it's excessive. Yes, it's absolutely mindless. But you cannot say that this is not a sincere movie.
Where's Ashton Kutcher? He's coming out. I'm being punked right now.
No.
All right, wait a minute.
If you can like Trade, if you can like tawdry crap like Trade, then I can certainly like something cheery like the game plan.
I just want to go back for a second here, and I want you to tell me about the genuine, authentic moment in this movie. At what point?
I've got a 4-year-old, man.
Oh, man.
And I tell you right now that this is the kind of movie I could watch with my 4-year-old and go, you know, this has got a few things in it that you might be able to take away from it that don't make me embarrassed.
That's amazing. We found the one person who liked game plan, and he's sitting next to me. Coming up next, Owen Wilson, Adrian Brody, Jason Schwartzman go on a fantastic journey in the Darjeeling Limited. But first, here's another review from the Balcony Archive where you can watch 20 years of movie reviews at themoviestv.com. A little good body humor,
Yeah.
and again, like, you know, Leslie Bibb nudity.
You know, I didn't miss it here. I didn't find myself going,
miss it every day of my life. but
Really?
that's
Really?
another
Well,
story.
apparently that could be something to do with what's happening at home.
Thank you very much.
You want to be like me, or you want to be me?
Okay, looking at movies now in theaters, I like The Assassination of Jesse James. Robert didn't quite like it enough to recommend it. Good Luck, Chuck sucked. And we both really admired Sean Penn's Into the Wild.
You know, I love Robert Benton. Speaking of people and things I love him for Bonnie and Clyde. I love him for Superman the movie, for The Late Show, and Places in the Heart, and Nobody's Fool, and the fact that he grew up in my hometown of Dallas. So no one wanted to love Feast of Love more than I. Alas, if only. Not even a feigned like. This is one thin, treacly piece of work from a guy who really should have known better than to have even approached Charles Baxter's complicated book about that complicated little thing called love.
I was just looking for some piece of happiness, so I closed my eyes and jumped.
Okay, so next time,
Don't jump, I know.
no, jump. Jump, but with your eyes open.
That's Greg Kinnear as Bradley Thomas, owner of a coffee shop who finds himself in an ongoing dialogue with wise old Professor Morgan Freeman, still in his God mode. Bradley goes through a couple of wives in this one, including Selma Blair and Rhoda Mitchell, both of whom have to find themselves in the beds of other partners. Thank you very much.
Tell her that what happened between us was a mistake and this whole thing is over.
It's not over.
Kinnear is always charming, and he has its moments here. A scene in which he goes to get his dog back is prime-time stuff. Give that man a series. But it's more like a soft-bore version of the HBO soft-core show, Tell Me You Love Me, starring Jane Alexander, who's actually here as Morgan Freeman's wife, matter of fact. The fact I don't like this kind of breaks my heart, Richard.
Well, when you list the canon of films there, obviously this is a minor entry, but I am recommending it with reservations. There are many things that I agree with what you had to say, Robert, but I also liked, Morgan Freeman and Jane Alexander so much. I thought the romance between the young couple was really good. I loved Rhoda Mitchell here. I thought the affair that she has is a twist on what you usually see with an extramarital affair and how that ends up. So there were certain elements I liked a lot. The Greg Kinnear character, he's supposed to be this over-eager puppy who keeps wanting to believe. Well, he's an idiot, really, is what it comes down to, But and you're right, Morgan Freeman. I mean, it's like he should get the Lifetime Achievement Award for best voiceover work. I mean, we've heard that kind of stuff before.
Sage.
But I love him doing that stuff. So I mean,
well, there's a million movies from which
it's
you can
episodic, and I'd say I probably liked about 60% of it, and about 40% of it I could leave. But that's just enough for me to say it's worth seeing. I think the writing's better than you're giving it credit for.
You like 90% more of it than I do.
And I think the acting is really, really strong here. So a mild recommendation from me.
All right.
Okay, next movie. The Darjeeling Limited plays almost like a takeoff on a Wes Anderson film, but there's more than enough to recommend the movie, starting with the work of Owen Wilson. Now, all the familiar elements from Anderson films such as Rushmore and The Royal Tenenbaums are here. The arch bone-dry comedy, the preciously hip pop music, the absurdist sequences, the smart bordering on smug characters. Sometimes it tries too hard, sometimes it bends over backwards to seem like it's not trying at all. Wilson does give the film's best performance as the oldest Whitman brother, Francis, who's recovering from a possible suicide attempt. Talk about art imitating life there. Adrian Brody is middle brother, Peter, who's ambivalent about pending fatherhood. Jason Schwartzman is Jack, the youngest.
Who's he talking to? No one. He's got the code to his ex-girlfriend's answering machine, and he's checking her messages.
What? When did he confide that to you?
Just now.
Why am I not a part of this?
Much of the film takes place on the Darjeeling Limited as the brothers embark on a spiritual healing quest. But there's time for farce as well.
How can a train be lost? It's on rails.
Apparently we took a wrong turn at some point last night.
That's crazy. How far off course are we?
Nobody knows. We haven't located us yet.
What'd you just say?
What?
What you just said. Say it again.
We haven't located us yet.
Ah! Is that symbolic? We haven't located us yet.
The Darjeeling Limited also features the best performance ever given by a set of luggage. I like this film. There's also a 13-minute short playing only on the internet that serves as a kind of prelude to the main film. Check it out. It's beautiful and it's dreamlike, and it features a naked Natalie Portman as Schwartzman's girlfriend. So watch that first if you can, and then see the movie.
Wes Anderson has become Wes Anderson's worst enemy. I think he has become, you say it's a takeoff, I hope by that you mean a self-parody, because that's all he's become. You know, I didn't like Royal Tenenbaums as much as other people did, but I kind of got it. but he's been remaking Tenenbaums ever since.
I understand what you're saying.
He goes from a house to a boat in the Life Aquatic to now a train in the Darjeeling Limited. And I gotta say, what's the point? This one's not funny. It's full of those signature slow-motion moves that literally look like a guy trying to make fun of Wes Anderson. Only he's not having any fun doing it.
I think he's winking a little bit here, and first of all, I agree with what you're saying. I love those slow motion shots. I think a lot of the business on the train is very funny, and yeah, it's sort of like a little bit of a sitcom Salinger family going on here, and we've seen it before.
In Bottle Rocket. There's actually a lift from Bottle Rocket, the whole motel romance that Luke Wilson goes through. It's just Jason Schwartzman in this particular instance.
I understand what you're saying, and I do think it'd be great if Wes Anderson did something completely different next time out. It is repetitive, but it's still very clever writing, maybe sometimes too clever. Really good acting. I like the three brothers. The interaction, I think, is really good stuff. Thank you.
Our next film is Lust, Caution. Richard and I actually saw this together in a stately old theater at the Toronto International Film Festival, and sitting beside us was director Ang Lee, who I could have sworn I saw nodding off at the hour 45-minute mark. See, this is the highly controversial film for which Lee received the NC-17 rating, something to do with star Tony Leung's pendulous assets being on full display. The studio would only provide us with one clip from the movie, so instead of boring you with too many details, or too many clips for that matter, I'll just say that it's Japanese-occupied Shanghai in the 1940s, and Leung's Mr. Yi and Tang Wei's Wang Jiager are about to get it on.
没有约了人，不然把车子打翻了。上来坐坐，喝杯茶。
There are many problems with this movie, and much of it's to blame on Lee, who allowed the story to get lost somewhere in the meandering mess that begins with a 15-minute mahjong game in which everything is set into motion, if you can stay awake. Me, I would just boil this down to 30 minutes and release it straight to Skinamax.
No. This is a beautiful film. The cinematography is gorgeous. The sex scenes are not just there for sensationalistic reasons. There's a lot going on. You actually see character development in the sexual relationship between these two characters, and I didn't feel like it was too long at all. I'm sorry that you were nodding off, but I think it's a beautiful piece of work.
Well, I have to say, after Brokeback Mountain, his other more recent tale of forbidden love, that was a really engaging, amazingly wonderful, thoughtful piece of character study. Here, I really didn't feel like that. In fact, the story is 54 pages long. It took me about an hour to read, and I felt like I knew the characters and their motivations and their emotions significantly more than I did from watching the film, which seems to really, once more, keep us at such a distance I didn't engage with them.
Well, you know, you've got to maybe sit closer to the screen next time. Coming up next, John Cusack stars in maybe the scariest movie of the year in our video segment. But first, here's a look at what's coming up on next week's show.
Do I look like I'm negotiating?
Stop!
Let's put surprises aside and just enjoy one another's company. We can do that, right?
Okay, looking at what's new on DVD, a show I know we're both big fans of, Entourage, Season 3, Part 2. We disagreed, though, on Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. You liked it more than I did. But another movie I liked a lot was 1408, I think one of the better adaptations of a Stephen King story. Not that we've got a shortage of those out there. But John Cusack, really good here. This is more, I think, more of a movie that gives you little chills than like big scares, but that's why I liked it. Very well done.
So we both like 1408, and if I'm not mistaken, we both really like the TV set.
Yes.
I certainly do, because I'm a sucker for movies about the TV business, especially when they get it right. David Duchovny here plays a TV writer dealing with the devil, Sigourney Weaver in this case, who has not been this funny in forever, in order to get his show on the air.
But it's the way these characters behave in this situation that makes the show original, I think.
Well, it'll be original no matter what you do, and truthfully, original scares me a little. You don't want to be too original.
If you're amazed good stuff ever gets on TV, please watch the TV set.
So the TV set and 1408 will be in stores on Tuesday. We'll be back to recap this week's show right after this.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is sponsored by... Guests of Ebert and Roeper stay at the Peninsula Chicago, the city's most exciting luxury hotel located in the heart of Chicago's Magnificent Mile.
Okay, recapping the movies on this week's show. No Love in the Balcony. We split on everything this week. I like The Kingdom and Trade and Feast of Love and the Darjeeling Limited and Lust, Caution. Robert didn't like any of those movies. The one movie he did like was The Game Plan, which I find amazing.
I'm incredibly pedestrian. What do you want from me?
That's it for this week and this relationship. Until next week, the balcony is closed.
people are starting their day with Plum Smart from SunSweet.
I'm starting.
Plum Smart has fiber and nutrients to help keep your digestive system healthy and in balance. Start smart with Plum Smart.
Sometimes after surgery, straining should be avoided. Colace Capsule Stool Softener helps ease straining to make going easier. Try Colace capsules for effective, comfortable relief.
Now, Dr. Scholl's has combined 2 gels to create an insole so outrageously comfortable, America is totally gelling. Are you gelling yet? Dr. Scholl's. Get in.
We know your dirty little secret, your mop. Get to know the cleaner way to clean with the Libman Wonder Mop. The mop head is machine washable, only from Libman.